Hey guys, training camp is less than a week away. We're talking about DeAngelo Yancey. This is the Out of Breath Armsore Packer Minute, the show where I walk around the neighborhood talking about the Packers, and you watch to see if I get carried over the rainbow by a tornado. And today's topic, as mentioned, we've been going through these draft picks, and we're going to close it up just in time for training camp to begin and start seeing these cats at work. DeAngelo Yancey, Packers wide receiver. We worked through all the running backs at once. Now we're jumping back. I'm going to do both of the wide receivers, and Yancey is one of these guys that some are excited about because he's a strong-handed dude. This is the kind of, to me, is the prototypical Packer wide receiver. He's not a speed burner. He's a bigger guy. He's going to be hard to bring down after the catch. He's got strong hands, which you need at Lambeau Field in December and hopefully January this year. Hopefully the Packers can get some playoff games at their home field, and I think that's going to be actually critical to our success. But DeAngelo Yancey, a guy that the Packers picked him up. And the one thing I'm hearing about DeAngelo Yancey right now, however, is that he has had a little bit of a drop problem in the OTAs and minicamps so far, where Malachi Dupree has been actually kind of a standout at this point. So depending on what you're looking for, I think DeAngelo Yancey is sort of that prototypical Packers wide receiver, the guy that is not necessarily the fastest, but has strong hands now and is going to be tough to bring down. Remember, the yards after the catch, since Donald Driver was a Green Bay Packer, which, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Donald Driver getting inducted into the Packer Hall of Fame tomorrow, guys. It's Friday. I hope you had a good week. The weekend is coming for you. And there's my neighbor coming by, wondering what I'm up to. But DeAngelo Yancey reminds me a lot of a James Jones type, where he's not going to be a speed burner, but he gets the job done. And when he needs to turn it on, he's able to do so. I think if he gets in sync with Aaron Rodgers, this is a kid that in college averaged over 19 yards a carry, 19.2 yards a carry, I believe. And that's hard to beat. That's hard to ignore. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is ignoring it. I don't think the Packers brass ignored it. That's why they drafted him in the mid-rounds. Let's see, which round was he? We had King. We had King and Jones. What was he, 5? I want to say 5. I can't even remember. And we still have to go back and catch up with Kofi Amicha, the lineman that has also been drafted. So we're closing it out with the 2 wide receivers, and we'll finish up with Kofi Amicha at the end of the series, right before training camp begins. So, but in the meantime, we'll see how Yancey plays out. It has a lot to do with, how he performs in the preseason, in particular. And the training camp is going to be the build-up to that. If he has had, as we've heard reported, some problems with the dropsies, that is something that's going to hurt him big time. If he isn't able to get it figured out before training camp closes and the preseason begins, will be very difficult on a Packers team that has a veritable log jam at the wide receiver position. These training camp battles, this is one of the log jams without a doubt. We've got a lot of running backs that we've drafted, which makes it a little bit of a different situation. We also have a wide receiver group that is absolutely stacked right now. You got your Jordy Nelsons, you've got your Devontae Adams, you've got your Randall Cobb, and Geronimo Allison, who you all have heard by now, has been suspended for 1 game stemming from the September traffic stop and December no contest plea to possession of marijuana. He dropped it down. They dropped it down to a fine, about a $300 fine, I guess, and but the NFL with Goodell at the helm, he is basically able to suspend whoever he wants. So he is suspended for game 1. I don't know if you heard. I'll go over the details. He's suspended for game 1. He can practice with the team. He can compete in training camp. He can play the preseason games. He just has to sit out week 1. And he will not get paid. It's about $31,000, a little over $31,000 that he's losing in this transaction. About 100 times what the fine itself was. So it's very interesting. However, and I know people hate that rule. They think it's stupid. And to me, I don't care what you think of the rule. As long as it's in place, Packers players, you got to be smarter than this, for crying out loud. If the rule is in place, just follow it, or stay the heck home. Stay out of your dang car Don't go to the door, Sam Shields. Don't go to Hawaii and be driving around Latroy Guion. I'm fed up with this kind of stupidity. And I heard Sean Jones describe these tests as being intelligence tests as opposed to drug tests. And I think he's right on with that, to be quite honest. There's a little dead I thought it was a dead black snake, but it's a piece of plastic strap that had a scale pattern. But at any rate, we will see how DeAngelo Yancey plays out. Remember how valuable, I mean, even when James Jones came back after his year with the Raiders, you know, early in the season, he was quite valuable as sort of a possession guy. And I do think, now, and this is worth talking about a little bit as we close up the show, right? Because Geronimo Allison will be unavailable week 1 against the Seahawks, I do think. And I don't know about you, but I do think there is an opportunity. I don't expect it to affect Allison a whole lot. But boy, what an opportunity if one of these guys, and Yancey might be one of those guys, really shows that he is the best, the number 4 receiver on this team. He's going to have a chance to play in that Seattle Seahawks game. Allison will not count against the roster in that game, so we'll be able to get another guy on the field. And if he can go out on the field and perform, I do think there is a chance that Allison's position on the team may be in jeopardy, at least his position at number 4. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It, again, completely depends on the performance of these other young guys that we've got, Yancey, and some may say Dupree's the guy that would take that spot. We'll talk about him tomorrow. I'm high on Dupree. But what I am saying, and remember, we haven't talked about Max McCaffrey, the holdover undrafted free agent who spent last year on the practice squad. So I do think that there is a bit of an open door. It's like that that door is just slipped open a little bit, perhaps, for one of these wide receivers that otherwise would not have had a chance. And the Packers are going to be able to keep an extra guy and then trade back out Geronimo Allison, from what I understand, after week 1. And the question then being, do they find somebody? Does Allison get pushed down the roster because of his mistake? Frankly, I looked at, if you look at Geronimo Allison, a lot of people really high on him. We like him because he's a tall guy, but Max McCaffrey is 6'2" as well. And he has a unofficial 4.36 40 times. So each of these guys has their own particular characteristics. And I think a lot of them can add to the Packers' offense. I think the big question is which ones are going to be available. And Geronimo Allison, for week 1, the answer is no, he won't be available. So we'll see if that pans out and turns into any kind of roster push, roster moves, roster changes when training camp ends. And the preseason, as it goes along, we'll be keeping an eye on that as well, because we'll get to see Allison perform. If he stumbles, remember, we've had some wide receivers. We had a wide receiver in Devontae Adams who stumbled in year 2. If Geronimo Allison stumbles, then it may be an opportunity for one of these young rookies to step up. So it remains to be seen. Training camp less than a week away, guys. I know you're excited about it. I am too. We'll continue our series and finish it out before training camp begins, and then we'll be chatting about training camp on the Out of Breath, Arm Sore Packer Minute each day, guys. You have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Go Pack.